Hey everyone, welcome back to Mobility IQ practice. For today's class, you're going to want 2 blocks. We'll be working through total body and we'll begin lying down on our backs. So as you're resting back, situate yourself so that you're comfortable, that there's no pulling in your lower back at all. So position yourself in the most optimal position to be able to breathe fully. You can do this breath practice with your eyes closed or open. Before we get into the breathing practice, just let yourself do a body scan, a really brief one. See if you can relax all the different parts of your body, starting with your feet and your toes. Moving into the ankles and the lower legs. And then bringing awareness and relaxation to your knees, your thighs, and your hips. Moving that awareness up the torso, so the front side of your torso from your pubic bone all the way to your top chest. And the back of your torso from the tailbone all the way up to the tops of the shoulder blades. Bringing awareness and relaxation to the shoulders, the upper arms, the elbows and the lower arms, your wrists, your hands, your fingers. Let go of any tension in your neck and let your head rest heavy on the ground. So this body scan brings softness to the body, but also awareness to the body. So we have that brain and muscle or brain and joint connection before we get to movement. And start to let your breath become more expansive, feeling your lungs filling and emptying. Feeling the lungs opening and closing like 2 balloons or 2 bellows. And this practice is called ladder breathing, like a ladder that you might climb. And it helps to open and expand the tissues of the lungs. And helps to work with what are called the accessory breathing muscles, so the muscles that help us to respirate. So finding a deep breath to start. And as you exhale, letting all the breath go, so breathing out until you feel like you're empty. And then inhale in 2 parts or 2 rungs of the ladder. Inhale roughly halfway, pausing, then inhale the rest of the way, all the way full. And then let that all go. Do that a few more times. 2-part inhalation, 2 rungs of the ladder. Inhale, roughly half your air. Then inhale the rest of the way, so you're filling up the lungs to expand completely. And at the top, exhaling and letting it all go. You might notice your breath gets deeper or slower. That's part of the process. Last round of 2 rungs of the ladder or 2-part inhale. Inhale halfway. Pausing. Inhale the rest of the way. Pause at the top. And exhaling until you're empty. 1 long, smooth exhalation. Let's switch to 3 parts of inhale. Inhale a little bit. then a little bit more. Then to the tippy top, really expanding the rib cage, expanding the belly and the chest. And one long, smooth exhalation. Do that 2 more times on your own. 3-part inhale. Followed by 1 single long exhale. And 1 final round. 3 rungs of the ladder, so breathing in thirds. And then emptying out, letting it all go. Now coming back to smooth single inhalation. And smooth single exhalation. You may notice right away that the lungs feel more open, that it's easier and more effortless to breathe very deeply. Maintain that slow rhythm of breath throughout practice as best you can today. From here, take your arms and slide them a little wider apart. They might be more out like a T formation by your sides. Bend your knees, walk your feet to the edges of your yoga mat. Keep your left knee pointing to the ceiling. Keep your left foot grounded on the floor. And start to windshield wipe, but just use your right leg. So as you open the leg out to the side, you'll roll the weight to the pinky toe side of your foot. As you orient the right leg internally, the weight will roll to the big toe or inner edge of the foot. So as the weight is moving from outer to inner edge of foot, think of this movement as coming from deep inside of your hip socket. Think of your thigh bone as being heavy as it rolls out and also heavy as it rolls in. So this very passive way of loosening up the hip in this outward rotation and inward rotation. As you next point your right knee up to the ceiling, plant the right foot firmly and switch to the left side. Single leg windshield wiper, just working with the left leg. Weight to the pinky toe side, weight to the big toe side. Rolling the thigh bone out, rolling the thigh bone in. Can you feel where the top of your thigh bone connects into your hip socket? And bringing full awareness to this movement that we're doing. Taking this last round here on this left leg. Coming back to knee pointing up and left foot planted. Now let's heel toe our feet to hips distance apart and stretch the legs long. So they'll be long and they'll be parallel and the feet are slightly flexed as if you're standing with your feet against that far wall. Moving into a little bit of shoulder movement. Start by reaching your arms to the ceiling with your palms facing into each other. From this reaching to ceiling, open your arms to cactus so you'll lay the back of the arms against the floor. From cactus, rotate your palms forward and down. Your fingertips might even touch the ground. Feel your shoulder blades lift. Rotate your arms back to cactus. And then stretch your arms straight out like a T. From the T formation, gather your arms together. They pull together, so we're back to fingertips reaching to the ceiling. This is a little bit of a circuit. From here to cactus, arms rest against the ground. Do that spiral of forearms down, fingertips may touch. Feel your shoulder blades lift off the ground behind you. Open back to cactus. Reach the arms out to a T. And then gather them in so they're at shoulders distance, fingertips to the ceiling. So let's call this movement 1. Movement 2 is cactus. Movement 3 is rolling the forearms forward, fingertips touch. Movement 4 is back to cactus. Movement 5 is arms to a T. Let's go back and do a few more. Reach up, movement 1. Cactus, movement 2. Forearms rolling forward, movement 3. Back to cactus, movement 4. Arms to a T, movement 5. One more repetition of this. Reach up, movement 1. Cactus, movement 2. Forearms roll forward, movement 3. Back to cactus, movement 4. Arms to a T, movement 5. Keep your arms reached out to a T. Bend your knees, go back to feet as wide as your yoga mat. Windshield wipe legs, side to side, so we're doing a double. Start to let your head go the opposite way of your knees. So we're inviting the spine to participate as we take the spine through a gentle twist. Knees to the right, head to the left. Knees to the left, head to the right. Shoulder blades stay planted on the ground underneath you. So the arms stay wide, shoulders stay heavy. Bring yourself all the way back to the center. Heel toe your feet very close together. And then let your knees open apart. So you're in supine butterfly with the soles of the feet matched against each other. Bend your elbows, interlace your hands behind your head. So you'll create a little cradle. Elbows are wide like wings pointing out to the sides of the room. Without pulling on your neck, can you peel your hands, your head, your neck, and your shoulder blades up off the ground? Look down towards your front ribs and notice that they are flush with the top rim of your pelvis, right? So we've knitted the ribs into the body. Now, can you inhale and go down without letting your ribs pop up? Let the back of the hands touch. Let the head rest just for a moment. Exhale and come back up, peeling the head, neck, shoulder blades up away from the floor. So just this little bit of core awakening. So it's kind of like a crunch, only crunches are done usually with like momentum and yanking on the neck. So let's think of this as like a very mindful form of a crunch. Now you can stay with your legs apart, or as you come up, you could squeeze your legs towards each other. So from butterfly to parallel, as you come back down, you go to butterfly. I'll let you decide what's going to work best for you. Bringing the legs together starts to invite the inner thighs to participate. So we strengthen those adductor or inner thigh muscles. Keep your elbows wide as you're coming up and as you're going down. If you can, exhale as you come up. It's really helpful to engage the belly. Just a few more. And last time, as you exhale, come up and hold it up here. Pull the belly button down, pull the back of your rib cage towards the floor. One more breath. And release everything all the way to the ground. Knees can fall apart once again. Extend your arms above you. Stretch your legs long along your yoga mat. Reach the crown of your head towards the top edge of your mat. Reach the heels towards the bottom edge of your mat, and reach your fingertips towards the wall behind you. So you're stretching full length of your body. Tuck your chin a little bit. Take another deep breath. And as you exhale, relax everything. Let it all get soft. Bend your knees one at a time. Make your way over onto your right side. So we're rolling to the side body. And from there, let's come up and meet in a variation of child's pose. So we are going to child's pose with the knees wide and the hips sinking back towards the heels. It doesn't mean you're sitting on your heels necessarily, but your hips are back. And the arms are forward, they're straight. Right? The spine isn't reaching forward and collapsing to the floor. Think of the spine as reaching up on a diagonal where your wall and your ceiling meet. So to that crest of wall and ceiling. Keep your arms really straight and strong, and then start to move through cat and cow movements with your spine. Let your head get involved. So as you inhale and curl open, your chin and nose will rise. As you exhale and push the floor, pulling your rib cage back, your nose and chin will move underneath you. And see what kind of spinal mobility you can create. Even though the lower back will feel like it can't really move as much as when we're in our tabletop cat-cow. Right? So we've kind of locked the lower back into position. And the reason for this is so that we can try to find a little bit more freedom through the upper segments of the spine. Right? Through the rib cage segment, the thoracic segment, and then the neck. One more time, inhale, creating that back bend of cow spine. Exhale, push the ground out of the way as you create the cat back, the flexion. And then please find neutral, the place we began. Once you've found neutral, bring your left hand in, center it on your yoga mat. Bring your right hand to touch your sacrum with your fingertips pointing down. What that means is your elbow is slightly pulled back. Now we rotate. When you inhale, can you open, like shine your chin and chest towards that right side wall? And as you exhale, bring yourself back to facing down towards the floor. Do this in rhythm with your breathing. So we're opening with our inhale and closing with the exhale. Three more here. I'll let you self-guide. So you breathe slow, steady breaths and move with them. One final time with this rotation to the right and back to facing down, centered. Switching hands, switching arms. The right hand goes where the left hand was. Left hand is bracing against the low back sacrum area. Your inhales are turning you to the left. Your exhales are bringing you back to neutral. So you might feel like you want to move really fast. Right? See if you can like slow it down and allow things to lengthen and rotate and open. One more time. Breathing in, opening, and breathing out, squaring. Let's take it into tabletop. So reach your arms at shoulders distance. Shift your weight forward. So now you've got weight on the wrists and weight on the knees. Knees under hips and shins parallel. And then take your pelvis, your center of gravity, and start to move it in a circle or an oval, depending on how big you want to make the shape. Maintaining straight elbows so that we get some weight shifting around on those wrists. We also get a little bit of hydration in the knees as we sit back. We're closing the knee joints. As we lift forward or shift forward, we're allowing for some opening of the knees. Switch direction, so about face and circle the other way. One more swirl all the way around. Bring it back to neutral tabletop. Take your hands, walk them a palm print forward. So right hand by a palm print forward, left hand by a palm print forward. Spread your fingers so they're far apart from each other. Press down through your index finger, right, the pointer one. Press down through the heel of your thumb, and also press down through your pinky. See if you can do those 3 fingers simultaneously pressing into the mat. Now keep that strength all the way up into your shoulders. Tuck your toes and raise your hips up any amount towards a downward dog pose. I'm going to do my first down dog, or the only down dog that we're doing in practice, with bent knees. But you're welcome to straighten your legs if you feel comfortable doing so. I did a kind of a longish bike ride this morning, so my hamstrings are feeling a little tight still. So bent knees, if you're feeling like the back of your legs are kind of feeling tight or stiff. One more breath here. Hands stay pressing, especially those 3 fingers on each hand. Hips reaching back. Relax your neck. And let's take it forward. So a nice slow walk of your feet to your hands. Your hands will eventually lift off of the mat. Once you reach the front, feet at hips distance, go into ragdoll. So bend your knees any amount that feels good. Hang your spine over your legs. Maybe you're holding the upper arms or the opposite elbows. If you're holding elbows, feel how the upper arms create a square, which is kind of like a picture frame for you then to hang your head in the frame. Crown of the head melting towards the floor. Maybe you sway side to side or front and back. And find center where you feel like your legs are evenly distributing the weight of the body. Bring your hands onto your hips. When you do that, can you notice how your collarbones open up a little bit and get wider? And then press into your feet and unhinge from the hips to come all the way up to standing. Let your arms release by your sides and bend your knees so you're slack in your body. Right? And do a little, just a tiny little bit of bouncing so you know like everything's loose, right? There's no like rigidity. And we're going to practice rolling down and rolling up through the spine, but it's really important we're not rigid when we roll. Suppleness and softness is the key. So checking in, knees bent, everything's loose. And then let your arms go in front of you. Palms will be facing in towards your body. And let your chin come down to your chest. Then start to round your shoulders and your upper back forward on purpose, like you're slouching very intentionally. Let the weight of your head and your neck and your shoulders continue to bring you over. So you begin to roll down. Very important that the knees stay bent. We're loose in the knees. We're loose in the hips. Gravity takes over as we let the upper body roll down piece by piece by piece until you find hips hinged and upper body hanging. And then we roll up. Consider your tailbone moving to the floor. As you restack your spine, you're always working with bent knees in these roll downs. So articulating the little bits of your spine until you come all the way back up to standing, head stacked on top of the shoulders, shoulders more in the side plane. Notice if your legs straighten, go back to bent knees, loosen, soft. We'll roll down forward one more time, chin to chest. Upper back starts to round. Arms get really heavy. Head, neck, shoulders start to become like anvils, dragging the rest of the spine into its roll, all the way down, down, and down until we're hanging. Staying loose and watery. Knees bent, tailbone curls under towards the pubic bone. Draw the belly back. Start to lift up through the back side of your rib cage. Lift up through the back of your heart, restacking. Coming up to head stacked on top of shoulders, shoulders in the side plane. Now we're going to angle this to the side. So we're adding a little rotation. Slack knees. Turn so your chest is more in alignment with that right thigh. And then we're going to get heavy over here. So chin goes to chest over to the side. Shoulders start to round. Okay. Continue to bend the knees to hang over more towards that right side of your yoga mat. Keep the knees bent. The hips will move back. And as you come to your full body hang, notice that you're a little bit rotated at the waist, hanging over the right side of the body. Let's come up, right? Tailbone goes under to pubic bone, peeling yourself up. Rolling up to restack. Continue to keep yourself oriented to the right, so we're still in that little bit of rotation. One more round over to the right. Chin to chest first, that's initiating the movement. Then the shoulders start to go. Back side of the rib cage rolls over. Low back starts to round. Hips slit, shifting back. Begin to hang over towards that right leg. Finding the bottom, everything dangling. Like water dripping. And then reverse your way slowly up, up, and until you find yourself restacked, then center. You can feel that really does do some work for stretching the lower back on the left side. Let's even out so we give that low back right side some love. Orient to the left. You can imagine there's a wall behind you. As you bring your chin to your chest, you're peeling your head away from the wall. And as you start to slouch on purpose through the shoulders, you're peeling the upper back away from the wall. You continue to lean forward, peeling the mid back, the rib cage, and then the lower back peels away from the wall. Riding this roll down over to the left until you find yourself in the gravity fold, hanging. Reversing your way up, take your time. Tailbone under towards pubic bone. Remembering head, neck, and shoulders are the last thing to climb up to arrive at the top. And then one final time over to the left here. Slouchy, slumpy, and heavy, very intentionally. Make sure the knees are bent, no locked legs. At the bottom, pause, just hang for a moment. And then roll yourself back up, breathing that deep breath. Finding your way up to the top, and at the top, we center. Okay, I'm going to orient just onto my yoga mat so that I can be forward facing for you. Next movement that we're going to do is different. I'm not sure we've ever done this in here before. You'll take your feet as wide as your outer shoulders, and then you're going to turn your toes in so we get internal rotation of our thighs. And then the knees bend. So we're loose, kind of like a scarecrow through the body. Okay. This is important that your toes stay turned in, your knees are going to be dropped in towards each other. What this does is it really frees up the pelvis for us to now do tucking under and sticking the butt out. Right? So we're keeping internal rotation, knees soft, and we're just working with pelvic tilting. So this allows for the pelvis to be a little bit more free, right? Free from the hips. If we were doing this with straight legs, when we clock the pelvis, the thighs would probably come along for the ride. So with this orientation of the legs, we can just get the pelvis moving. And you could go forward and backward. You could also do circles, right? Like a little bit of like hula movement. Keep the knees bent, keep the feet turned in, keep your pelvis free. Go back to tucking and sticking your butt out. And I want you to find a tucked position where you're not 100% tucked really tightly, but you're somewhere in your 75% range of tuck. So it's a sturdy tuck with the knees pointing in. Then we're taking the arms, let's go out to the sides, bend your wrists, and spin your fingers from pointing up to pointing back, and then to pointing down. So we're going to get external rotation in the arm bones. All right, next thing we do is side to side translation. So here's the rule. You can't move your hips, but you can move your rib cage to the right and your rib cage to the left. So this works with fascia, like connective tissue in the body. And something that can happen is that the fascia can get sticky and our rib cage doesn't move on its own, right? Our rib cage like connects to the pelvis, and so then we don't have that freedom to let the rib cage move independently. It's like every time we move the rib cage, the hips have to go along for the ride. So this is just kind of loosening that connection. It's letting the rib cage be its own thing and letting your pelvis be its own thing. Keep your 75% tuck. Feel your rib cage translating to the right and left. And then bring your rib cage back to the center. Reach your right arm down. You're going to keep that hands position. Left arm goes overhead, bending your elbow. And then take a deep breath in. As you exhale, side bend, push your right hand to the floor, reach your left elbow over to the side wall. Inhale, come back to center. Rib cage is on top of the pelvis. Exhale, side bend. Elbow reaches over, hand reaches down. Yeah, great big stretch for the side body. So the fascia along the side. Keep going. We're exhaling into that movement. One more time. Doesn't take much to loosen that stuff up. And come all the way back to center. Release your left hand down. You still have that bend in your wrist. Your fingertips are pointing towards the back of the room. Right arm goes over, elbow is bent. Deep breath in. As you exhale, hand reaches, spine side bends, elbow goes up and over. Inhale, center. Exhale, go. Banana. Couple more, moving with your breathing. Check in with your knees, pivoting in, your 75% tuck. One more time, exhale, go up, over, reach hand down, reach elbow up and over towards the side wall. Come all the way back to center, let the arms go. Straighten your legs and step your legs into hips distance. Whew, it's weird, but really effective. Now let's move into our hip movement. So we're gonna do the controlled articular rotation standing up. If you need a wall, go to a wall. If you wanna hold on to the edge of a couch or a stool, you're welcome to take your left hand to support you on something. Right arm's going out to the side. We're making a fist with the hand and we're making the arm really strong. So as you squeeze your fist, think of igniting the muscles of your forearm, your bicep, your tricep, and your shoulder. If you're not using furniture, then go left hand onto your hip. Put weight into your left leg, lift your right knee up so your thigh bone's parallel to the ground. Open your right leg out to the side. Turn your inner knee in and your outer heel is kicking out and up. So we're getting into internal rotation of the leg. Now kick your heel back behind you without leaning forward with your chest or torso. Feel your butt squeeze. Zip your legs close together without letting them touch. Kick your heel back even more. See if you can ignite your buttock over there on the right side. Open the leg out to the side. Sweep it back in front of you. Lift it a little higher. Round two. Keep the knee higher. Open out to the side. Internal rotation. Kick the leg back behind you. Squeeze your thighs towards each other. Reverse your way out. Kick back. Open out. Lift the knee a little higher as you bring it in front of you into that hip flexion pattern. One more round. Can you lift your leg a little higher? Open out to the side. Internal rotation. Inner thigh in, outer heel out. Kick your leg back behind. Feel your glute squeeze. Squeeze your legs towards each other. Reverse your way out. Kick back. Open out. Lift nice and high. Bring it in front. Hold it there. And then put it down. Relax the arm, relax the leg. Shake out a little bit before we go to the other side. Okay, then set yourself up. If you need to turn your body so you have that other piece of furniture for your right hand, you can go there. Feet at hips distance, left arm to the side, make a fist, ignite the arm. If you're not using support, right hand to hip for support. Left thigh comes up, knee is bent until your thigh is parallel to the ground. We're starting with just parallel or horizontal to the floor. Then opening out to the side. Adding internal rotation. Reaching back behind us. Squeezing the legs together. Reaching back behind us. Opening out to the side. Lifting the knee an inch higher and bringing it in front. Lift it a ½ inch higher, get a little more flexion. Open out to the side. Internal rotation, inner knee in, outer heel out. Reach the leg behind you, thigh bone goes back. Legs come together. Reverse, reach back. External rotation out to the side. Lift it a little higher, knee up towards arm. Pull it in front. Last round, how high can you lift your knee? Keeping your knee that high, can you open out with it that high? Can you do internal rotation as best you can with the knee that high? Can you kick back behind you? Zip the leg together. Reverse your way out, kick way back. Open out, how high can you bring the knee? Keep it that high, pull it in front of you. Hold it up there. And release it down. Let go of the arm, let go of the legs, shake out a little bit. And then you'll want your yoga block for what we're gonna do next, which is hip hiking, strengthening for the lower back muscles. So I'm gonna use one yoga block. I'll ask you to do the same. Place it on your mat so that you're able to stand on it with your right foot, which means when you stand on it that your left leg is actually just floating. If you need counterbalance, reach your arms out to touch wall, doorway, or furniture, right? Or you're welcome to have arms out to the side, this position of like locked and strong. And we're practicing hip hiking. It's just like it sounds. We're reaching the top of this hip up towards the right armpit so you get wrinkled through the side body, and then you're reaching it down. So hip hikes up, hip reaches down. Shortening and lengthening the side. So something that's cool to me is to bring the hand to those muscles and to feel them working. As you hike up, you can feel, oh my gosh, look how strong I am in there. And then as you reach down, you can feel that elongation. Do a couple more. Hip hike, hip reach. Keeping the legs straight as you're doing this. So it's a long lever. Feel those muscles contracting and getting short as you hike up. Lengthening as you reach down. 2 more times. Up. And reach down. Last one. Up. And lengthen down. Bend the knee of the foot that's standing on your block and place that opposite foot to the floor. So this leg that we're standing on, it gets some work too. Hip stability while we're doing the hip hike on the opposite leg. Switch over. Foot stands right on top. That means your opposite leg is free. You can touch the furniture. You could go out to the side. You could hold the muscles if you want to feel them working. And then we're hiking up. So it's like suction the hip up towards the ceiling. And then lengthen the whole hip towards the floor. Okay? As you suction up, feel the muscles engage. They get strong. As you lengthen down, feel them release. Keep going. So this is a great movement for what's called your quadratus lumborum muscle. And if you've ever pulled your back and you've gone to like the massage therapist or you've gone to the chiropractor, likely they said, oh, you tweaked your QL, right? Part of why we tweak the muscle is because we don't strengthen it, right? So this is intentionally strengthening that QL muscle through hip hiking. 3 more. Up. Down. Last 2. Hike. And reach. Last one. Up. And lower. Bend the knee of the foot that's standing on the block. Place the opposite. And step off of your yoga block. Now, bring both blocks with you. Come towards the front of your yoga mat and place them one to the right and one to the left so they're easy to get to when we go to our next thing. Come to standing in your mountain pose. Then bend your knees, get really loose, and we're going to roll down. So chin to chest, imagine your back's against a wall. As you pull your head forward, your head releases from the wall. As you slump your shoulders forward, you start to roll your spine away from the wall. Continue to get heavier and heavier and heavier. Keep the knees bent, peeling the segments of the spine away from our imaginary wall. Coming into that full gravity hang. Everything's loose and soft. And then taking your hands to your blocks, pulling them in so they're framing your feet, and stepping your left leg back towards a lunge. Then let your left knee softly land. If you need to add some padding, feel free. Untuck your back toes and start to move your hips back so the right leg gets straight, and forward so you go back into lunging. So we're just doing some in and outs here. Pulling back and coming forward. One thing to consider is, can you keep your back long? So think of doing this with, like, our spine is never straight, but think of it as like doing it with a straight spine, not a slumped spine. So your chest is reaching towards the front of your yoga mat, even as you orient the hips back and forth. Then go into your pulled back position. So that's bringing your right leg more to straight. Just moving my block out of the way so you can see that. And then start to turn your foot out and your foot in. So you're moving the weight on the heel skin to the outer heel skin and then to the inner heel skin, keeping a straightish leg so that movement is really happening from up inside of the hip. External rotation followed by internal rotation. Okay, turn your foot out so your toes will be pointing towards that right-hand side of your mat, and do a couple bend and straightens where you lunge but your foot's spinned out to the side and you pull back, your foot is still oriented out to the side. So this gets into this line of fascia called your IT band, right, which is a hip stabilizer. It acts like a muscle. Even though it's not muscle, it acts like one. And it stabilizes our hips, and it can get really tight and tense in there. It can feel really stiff. So foot turned out, back and forth. Yes. Go into your pulled back position, toes point to the ceiling, framing the front leg with the blocks. Bend your front knee, lift your back knee, step your back foot forward, switch your legs. Right leg goes back to the lunge, knee to the floor. So we're in low lunge. Take it into your back and forth. As you're moving, consider your back staying straight. So sometimes putting your blocks up really tall can help you with creating the more of a flat back position as you do this. You'll notice, oh, when I go back, I feel this in my hamstring. When I drop forward, you might feel it in your hip flexor. So getting those opposing muscle groups. Go into your pulled back position. Left leg is straight or straightish. Start to move on the heel, toes turning out, foot pivoting out, foot pivoting in. So feel the weight shifting on the back of your heel. Also feel that happening from up inside of your hip. Thigh bone rolls one way, thigh bone rolls the other. And take it to the turned out position. So that's the foot is pivoted out, the whole leg is rolled out to the left. And do some bend and straightens with that foot turned out so we can get into that hip stabilizer IT band region. And pulling back, left toes pointing to ceiling. Move your blocks out of the way and come to tabletop. So you'll go right to hands and knees. And then really like get the blocks out of the way so they won't hinder you at all for our next movements. Tabletop, bring your right shin forward like you're doing pigeon pose. So the right knee will slide forward towards the right wrist and the shin bone turns in on an angle. Then sit into your right hip and bring your left leg out to the side. So we're going into our 90-90 hip opening position. When you look over to the left leg, that's the trailing leg. It's trailing off to the side. It's a right angle, a half square. And then adjust your front leg so that it's also a half square. So a little bit of this pinwheel through the body, right? Right leg half square, left leg half square. Can you situate yourself so your chest is pointing forward? Fingertips are touching the ground. And you'll notice, well, I only feel like one of my butt bones is on the ground. Totally fine. You might feel like you're leaning over to the right. From here, start to really push both legs towards the floor. So actively engaging your muscles in such a way that you're pressing the legs towards the ground. Take a few breaths just with that action. My legs are pushing, my spine is long, my breath is deep. Keep your legs pressing down. Bring your hands together in this gesture of gratitude or offering. So we're going to go hands to prayer. Think of your spine staying really tall and long. Take a deep breath in. And then hinge from your right hip crease. Lean your spine forward as you exhale without rounding. Inhale, come all the way back up. As you exhale, shift forward. Feel the weight pushing into your front leg. Right hip gets a little more love there. Inhale, come back up. Exhale, lean forward. Finish your exhale. How far forward can you go? Keep your spine long. Inhale, press the legs, come back up. 2 more times. Our exhale is leaning us forward, like leaning Tower of Pisa here. Inhale, we rock back up. Again, exhale, lean forward. Now I want you to stay forward. Take a few breaths. Push your right leg, your front leg into the floor more than your back leg. Breathe. One more breath. I know it's probably a little fiery over there. And lift yourself all the way back up. Fingertips to the floor. So I want you to support the weight of your upper body by touching the ground. And then flex your back foot very strongly. Try to lift your back foot off the floor. What? And then put it down. Okay, so I need you to know this is butt cramp central. So if you get a butt cramp, then you're probably doing it right. And if it becomes too intense, you can always hug your knee in towards your chest to release that cramp. So we're just going to do little hovers or floats. Back foot floats up. 2 seconds. And then it goes back down. 3 more. Just because we did 5 on the front leg, we're going to do 5 on the back leg. Float the foot up. Feel the engagement of those hip muscles. And lower the foot down. It may not be lifting more than 1 millimeter. That's okay. Couple more. Up. Float it. Internal rotation of that thigh. And down. Last one. Float it up. Hold it up. Oh, and put it down. Now, all you got to do to get to the other side is rotate, windshield wipe those legs the other way, and then you check in. Is my right leg at a 90-degree angle, my trail leg? And get your left leg to match. So it's also at 90 degrees. Take a moment, feel your seat. Send your chest, chin, and eyes forward facing. Again, you're probably feeling like you're leaning way over to the side. It's totally fine. And find the legs pressing down. Right? This active legs pushing into the floor. Breathe with that. Spine is tall, legs are pushing down. Gather those hands in to the front body. So this gesture of collecting to our center, Deep breath in, spine remains really tall. Exhale, shift the weight forward. So you get more weight bearing into front leg, front hip. Inhale, push the ground and lift back to vertical. Exhale, feel the left hip crease deepening as you fold. Inhale, come back up. How far forward do you go? As far forward and over as you can, with maintaining a long back. Last two. And up. Last one. This one we hold. We lean. We deepen the left hip crease. We press the legs into the floor. We keep the spine long and breathe one more breath. Press down and lift all the way back up. Use your hands on the ground for support. Right? Something you should know, when you try to float that back shin, you might feel like leaning forward helps you to float it up. Okay, then lean forward a little bit to get it airborne. Flex your right foot strong, or the trail leg, that foot flexes strong. See about floating the foot and that inner knobby ankle bone up away from the ground for 2 seconds or so, and then putting it back down. When we lift it, which we're doing right now, there's contraction in the hip. When we lower it, relaxation, softening in the hip. Do 3 more. Up, 2-second hold, and down. Again, float, hover, 2-second hold, and down. Last one, up, hover it, hold it, and release it. Swing your right leg all the way around. Go to any comfortable cross-legged seat, and then take a little walk, upper body forward. Give yourself a little bit of a stretch here. So the hips stay back, the upper body reaches forward. And from your forward lean, bring your hands and arms back in. So walk in and sit up tall. Legs come together in front of you. Knees are pointing up, feet are down. See that you have room because we're rolling it down onto the back. So arms forward, articulate the spine so you'll round and segment your spine to the floor. So the core, the front belly helps you here. Front body as strong as the back body releases all the way. Head, neck, shoulder blades on the floor, and then let your arms rest. So we need to stretch those muscles we just worked, because if we don't, you're going to feel it tomorrow. So bring your feet to hips distance apart like you're doing bridge pose. And then take your right ankle, the knobby outer bone, and cross it over your lower left thigh. So we come into figure 4 position. First movement is pull your left foot up away from the floor, pull your thigh bone towards you, lift your left shin parallel to the ground. We haven't grabbed anything with our hands yet. Breathe here. So we're in a bit of active stretching. And now interlace your hands around the left thigh. So you have to reach one arm through that little triangle. Or you can go to the shin and pull your legs towards your chest. Give yourself that hip stretch. I really like rocking side to side because when I rock to the left, I can feel a little bit more of like a deeper opening. That might be true for you, but all of our bodies are so different. I can't say that's a fact. Find your way back to center so you feel like your back is resting on the floor. Then release your interlace arms by your side. One more breath where we're in the active hold of this stretch. Left shin parallel to the ground and breathe. And then release your left foot down. Uncross your right ankle, feet parallel at hips distance. Let's swap left ankle, right thigh. Pick up your right foot. Shin is horizontal to the floor or parallel to the floor. Breathing here, actively stretching. Now you can reach through and wrap around the thigh or the knee. Passively stretching, so use your arm strength to pull your legs towards the front of your body. If you liked that side to side, if you found that helpful and beneficial, then you could go side to side here. And find your way back to center. Arms release the interlace, they go by your side. Hold yourself in active stretch for another breath or two. Release the sole of your right foot and uncross your left ankle. Take your arms to a T, reaching far and wide, palms facing up. And then without grabbing and pulling, bring your knees towards your chest. Right knee to your chest, left knee to your chest. So we're actively pulling the legs towards us without using our arms. Start to go side to side. First, it's kind of small rocking. Then get a little bigger. Turn your palms to touch the floor. So you're going to go palms down. And then start to get so big in the side to side where you can feel like as your legs go to the left, the right shoulder blade wants to come off the floor, but you're not going to let it. And as you take your legs deeply to the right, the left shoulder blade wants to come up, but we're not letting it lift. So you got to find your edge. How far over with the legs can you go without letting the opposite shoulder lift off the floor? And then together, let's all take our legs to the right, all the way over until the right leg lands, the left leg lands on top of it. Now take your right hand and hold on to that top leg. Brace it down. So pull the top leg down against the bottom leg and turn your chest, your rib cage, and your head to the left. Breathe here into this twist. Bring your head back to the center. Extend your right arm to a T, palm down. Come back to that motion of legs going side to side, shoulders staying grounded. Then allowing the legs to go all the way over to the left. Top one landing on top of the bottom one. Take hold of your top leg with that left hand. Brace it down so the legs come together. Turn your chest, rib cage, and eyes to the right. So we're providing some adjustment, like really firming the legs towards the floor as we actively turn the upper body the opposite way. Bring your head to the center and lower body back around. hug your legs in with your arms. You can wrap your arms around either one or both. Go side to side. And if your body's calling out for any last little movements, you might do like a happy baby pose. Right? You could do some knee circles, just loosening up your back for our final rest. And once you've let the back release any tension it might be holding on to, then you can stretch your legs long along your mat. Bring your arms to a restful position. Bring your chin slightly down to your chest so that you get some length along the back of your neck. Close the horizon line of your eyes. Rather than your breath being very controlled and deep, let your breath become really easy. Let your body breathe how it naturally wants to. And keep your body soft, resting against the floor. Bring your attention back to what it feels like to breathe. And connecting with the opening and closing of the lungs. And begin to allow the head to rotate back and forth, just rolling weight across the back side of the skull. Bringing the head to center, bending your knees one and then the other. Slowly rolling to the side, resting there. And pressing the ground out of the way as you lift yourself to any seat that's comfortable. And closing your eyes, joining hands together. This gesture of honoring yourself for taking this time to move and breathe today. This gesture of gratitude for the resilience of our bodies, our minds, and our hearts. Thanks so much for showing up.